being hygienic is different, but being hygienic because you fear that something might happen is different. What do you think are some of the causes of OCD? What do you think contributes to a person developing OCD, or what do you think are the causes that lead to a person having these intrusive thoughts?
So there's no easy answer for this. Like most psychological disorders, mental health disorders, we don't really know what causes OCD in particular, but we know some risk factors. So we know that if you have close relatives who display OCD symptoms or have OCD themselves, you are more likely to have it. Right?
Genetic.
So there's a genetic component. Apart from genetics, there is also a component of stress. So stress doesn't cause OCD. If you go through a great amount of stress, what might happen is you might trigger OCD. This is true for any mental health disorder. If you have that tendency to get OCD and you go through a huge life change or a huge stressful event, right, which has struck you deeply, you might start displaying these symptoms, and that will be the start of your symptoms.
You beautifully mentioned how stress can contribute to causing OCD even though it is not a direct reason. So probably if a person is going through stress for a prolonged period of time, them contributing to having these continuous thoughts that, okay, how do I deal with this stress? Obviously, for any mental health disorder or any psychological disorder, seeking therapy or seeking help being the first initial primary step, what are a few ways which people can deal with OCD?
Like you said, the first step is seeking help. So generally in the form of therapy, right? So in therapy, what the therapist will do is they will help this person with OCD deal with their symptoms by exploring those obsessions, those fears, those anxieties without performing the compulsive act, right? So sort of disassociating that ritual from the thought. So say your thought is, I am afraid something terrible is going to happen. You look into why you expect that, where the thought is coming from. And to cope with it, we're not using that unhealthy method, that is, tapping 10 times will stop anything bad from happening, because that causes a lot of distress in itself, right? So to stop that, you disassociate that. That's one thing. If you or someone you know, someone you love has OCD, the main thing to do is to be patient, right? Especially while you're seeking help. Because the thing about OCD is they are not in control of these, they're not consciously in control of these symptoms. So you stressing about it, you scolding them, or you scolding yourself, right, is not going to help, because stress will only make the symptoms get worse or get more prominent.
Like you mentioned, having or being in control of how you deal with a person who is having OCD is very important, because they are not in control of their thoughts. They do not want to have these thoughts. They do not want to carry out these compulsive behaviors continuously. In a way, I feel like a lot of people also make fun of them, like encouraging this or even mimicking their behavior. So I feel it is disrespectful for the person who's facing such a serious condition. So apart from carrying out compulsive behaviors or having these intrusive thoughts, are there any other signs and symptoms which a person can look for in OCD?
Right, so the main thing about OCD is obsessions and compulsions. If you see someone who is struggling with big uncertainties, that is, they feel something terrible is going to happen, my loved ones are going to face problems, I'm going to catch a disease, that is a main thing, right? So the thing about disease, about contamination, is that it's something big that you can't control. So what people with OCD face is that feeling of lack of control, and compulsions are their way of seizing control, right? So they're saying, once this action is completed, I'll be safe. Everyone will be safe. My loved ones will be safe. I won't catch any diseases, which is not true, right? It's a ritual.
Yes, for example, like we previously mentioned, that if we go and touch this table 10 times, my loved ones will be safe.
Yeah, the thing about OCD is these symptoms cause a lot of distress. So say someone believes, like someone religious who believes that doing this ritual will protect their family. That's not OCD, right? That's belief.
That's the belief which people have, that if they have this belief, that is OCD. So
yeah, right? So what actually happens here is this ritual. The person with OCD themselves believes, I have to do this. If I don't do this, a calamity is going to occur. So the association of this ritual with the calamity occurring, something they cannot control, this fear of uncertainty drives their symptoms. So the symptoms of OCD that you can look out for in people is first off the compulsions, because they're easy to spot. They can be external. So it might include maybe tapping something or checking something continuously, or they have to walk in and out of a door like many times, right? That is one symptom. But they can also be internal. Like, for example, they feel that, say, I am doing this and something bad is going to happen. Now I'm going to think one phrase in my head 10 times. Or maybe they have a lucky number 7. So then they count to 7 continuously. And it's not in their control. They just feel they have to do it. Right? That is what you can look for in someone with OCD.
You beautifully explained how their compulsive behaviors are not just external, but they're internal too, like counting numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of people also believe in, if they don't take a bath every time, like every 1 hour, they might catch a disease. So these are some of the signs and symptoms people can look for in OCD, right? So before we wrap up, can you give us the mental health tip of the day?
Okay, so the mental health tip of the day is, this is a fact, right? One of the most protective factors on your mental health are your relationships, your close, intimate, personal relationships. So my tip of the day is, check on your loved ones, see how they're doing, right? And check how they help you and how you help them. That mutual support is your main protection for your mental health.
Thank you so much for your words. I think now there is more clarity as to what OCD is, and OCD is not just being hygienic, but it is a lot more than that, and the gravity of this disorder has been conveyed. Thank you so much for all that you mentioned about OCD. I think it was very helpful.